This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, November 7, 1962, one of the greatest Ironman streaks in sports history ended. Yes, we know about the 1,200 plus games that AC Green played consecutively in the NBA. In the NFL, you know Brett Favre's Ironman streak and baseball, Cal Ripken's streak. But if they a November streak? Yeah, well, what other sport was in November? Hockey. Yeah, we know that Phil Kessel is now the NHL's Ironman, which is sacrilege because Doug Jarvis was the fundamental of a consecutive streak. However, one man played net for over 500 games. His name is Glenn Hall. He's still alive, mind you. He was consistent and all of that. Anyway, Glenn Hall, to what NHL fans know, used to be a Chicago Blackhawks legend, which he was. But people forget that he used to play for the Red Wings. He was decent with the Red Wings. He was their starting goalie by 1956. Once Terry Sawchuk had his depression and mono that he left for Boston. He was the main guy. However, one major event changed Glenn Hall's life, and that was in 1957 when the Players Association was trying to do their stuff. So basically, almost every player, every team traded their union defectors, if you will, to Chicago, which, let's face it, Chicago was not really the best team and was basically Siberia to most people. Toronto traded Jim Thompson. Detroit traded, of course, Ted Lindsay to Chicago, alongside Glenn Hall, saying that you will not fight the cause. So that was what happened. And so he went to Chicago. Mind you, Chicago wasn't a very good team. But in 1961, the Blackhawks surprised everyone by getting to the Stanley Cup Finals and beating the Red Wings to win their first cup. At the time, the first cup in 23 years. Ironically, almost half a century later, the Blackhawks would win another Stanley Cup. The next Stanley Cup would be 2010. Regardless, Glenn Hall had played every game in the nets, which is hard to do. It was a 70-game season, not the 80-game season, 82-game season that we all know nowadays. But 70 games is still 70 games. I mean, how many goalies start playing 70 games in the NHL anymore? It's load management, if you will. But yeah, he played all these games in a row. 502 to be exact. Can you imagine 502 games? You're still in net. Here's the thing. In an 82-game schedule, if you play 6 years, every game for 6 years, that's 492. You had to play every game in net for 6 straight years and add 10 on top to tie Glenn Hall's record of 502. Glenn Hall was big and all that. Yeah, he kind of shared the net with Denny DeJordy and all that. But yeah, Glenn Hall was still the man and all that. And November 7th, 1962, he had to have back problems. So he was replaced by Denny DeJordy. And, he didn't play that game. It was amazing. 502 consecutive games. And let's not forget that Glenn Hall did this without a mask. And, the game was rougher and all that. He never wore a mask in his career with Detroit, Chicago, and St. Louis. Which is amazing and all that. Hall had the thing that he would throw up before each game, then drink a glass of orange juice. Sometimes that works. When he played for Chicago, he was the first team NHL goalie 5 times, which is pretty good. So yeah, Glenn Hall was the legend in Chicago. That's why he's never wanted to retire by the Blackhawks. He went to St. Louis, the expansion draft, and actually helped them out, getting to 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row. No, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row. So it was amazing. Well, of course, it's a little bit biased for St. Louis because of the fact that, you know, the NHL decided it was a good idea to have the East Division made up of the original 6 teams. The winner of that division take on the West Division winners, which is the expansion team, the 6 new expansion teams in 1967, so that they basically would have an expansion team in the Cup final every year. After St. Louis went 0 for 12 in those 3 finals, the NHL decided to switch Chicago to the Western Division, make it kind of geographical, even though Vancouver was in the Eastern Division in that 70-71 season, their expansion season. So, yeah, and make it more competitive. So, yeah. But, yeah, Glenn Hall helped St. Louis out, and all the more power to him. Well, that 502 games as a player is hard to do. Nobody has more than 500 consecutive games as a player, not as a goalie, but as a player, other than Phil Kessel. And it's weird seeing Phil Kessel's body shape, and yet he's playing almost 1,000 consecutive games. Something has to give, right? And it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. But anyway, yeah, Glenn Hall's record will never be beaten again. And just a quick reminder, there is no Sports Catastrophe birthday boy for today, November 7th, and there will be no Sports Catastrophe on the 8th. I have no ideas for November 8th, so I'll be probably spending time trying to deal with my other series, Cutters World Cup Stories, which of course you can watch on YouTube and on my channel. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.